webinar series. We're excited to host today's session, AI for Small Business, a deep dive into ChatGPT, prompt tricks, and emerging AI tools. As economic developers and business advocates, we're always looking for practical tools to help our local businesses operate smarter, compete more efficiently, and grow with confidence. AI is no longer a future concept, it's a present day advantage. And today's conversation is all about making it accessible and actionable for small businesses. We're especially pleased to welcome our presenter, Andrew Brockenbush. Andrew is the founder of Beefy Marketing and a seasoned entrepreneur with more than a decade of experience in marketing businesses and, and helping businesses with growth. As CEO of Beefy Marketing and founder of Wingman, he has built a reputation for helping businesses harness the power of AI and automation to streamline operations and accelerate results. Today, Andrew will walk us through how tools like ChatGPT can be used effectively, how smarter prompting leads to better results, and what emerging AI tools small businesses should be paying attention to right now. Whether you're brand new to AI or you're already experimenting with it, this session is designed to give you insights you can put into action immediately. Andrew, welcome and thank you for being here with us today.
Hey, good morning, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me back. This is awesome.
You're welcome.
All right, well, I'm going to kick things off. And again, so excited to be back just a few years later after I did my very first presentation with the TEDC all about ChatGPT and kind of the emergence of AI. And a lot has changed since then. So I've got a lot of fun stuff to share with you guys. Some of it's the foundational about how to get more out of AI. And then I'm going to kind of deep dive into a few of the tools that I think you guys should be paying attention to, some of the tools that I think are really, really cool. And just know that everything I'm covering today is kind of at the surface level. We could go hours and hours and nerd out together all about the other things that are coming. But today I'm going to kind of just give you an introductory to this. So what are we talking about? AI for small business. As Kelly said, it's a deep dive into ChatGPT, prompt tricks, emerging tools. And really, this is going to be a plain language guide to help you kind of maximize your time and output. A lot of times I talk to people and they say, well, I just don't like what answers ChatGPT gives me. So I'm going to kind of help you with that, as well as talk to you about a few other tools that you might find to even be cooler for your business. So first thing I want to talk about is this fear that everyone is so worried about and so concerned about, which is AI is replacing me. AI is replacing jobs. AI is replacing people. And although that is a fair and valid concern, I think the opportunity that we have right now in 2026 and the years going forward is the fact that we have the opportunity here to be multiplied, right? The old way, we're juggling all of these different tasks: social media, admin, operations, emails, billing, you name it. And the new AI way is, hey, you focus on kind of like vision casting and allow AI to kind of help you juggle all of those other tasks. So, right, you think about the fact that a marketing task that were taking you hours once can be done in less than 30 minutes, or data analysis that took days and days can happen in seconds. And that will allow you to have 5 to 10x of the output volume. So when I always kind of joke with people, we might both have the same amount of hours in the day when it comes to what we can get accomplished. But I promise you, because I'm nerding out, geeking out about AI, my 8 hours, my 12 hours is definitely going to be more than the average person, because I'm leveraging AI to help me maximize my time. So let's just set some realistic expectations. What AI is and what AI is not, right? So AI is a reasoning engine and brainstorming partner, right? It is a first draft writer. It is a pattern recognizer. It is an amplification tool. What it is not is a magic wand. It does still need guidance, right? A lot of people just drop something into ChatGPT and expect the response to be the first thing that they get is the thing that they use. And although that can work, I promise you that whenever you spend a little bit more time learning how to best prompt these tools, the output is so much better. It is also not a replacement for human judgment, right? Like, we still need to be human. We need to add that personality and that character and that humility and all of the things that make humans so special. It is also not a perfect fact checker. You might have noticed this before if you've been using AI for any time, but it can absolutely hallucinate. And what do I mean by hallucinate? It can just make stuff up. It can lie. You have to check what you're getting out of it. So you might write a post and what you get, you're going to be like, oh, that's amazing. just do your fact checking, okay? Make sure you're fact checking. The other thing I've noticed about AI is it can sometimes be what we call an echo chamber. So you put something in and it just loves to give it right back to you, especially those positive ideas. Hey, I've got an idea for a business and it's going to do this, 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 and this. And it comes back and says, oh, you're so special. You're so amazing. That would be a great business. It's like, make sure that you're actually asking the right questions. One of the things I do with AI is I'll actually tell it to roast me. Give me the things that I don't see. Like give me the, kind of poke holes through my idea. Like I want to know not this positive kind of echo chamber, but the real response here. It is also not yet a set it and forget it employee, right? We always talk about trust and verify, and that's what I would recommend you do with AI, trust and verify. The golden rule here is AI generates the draft and you provide the craft. What do I mean by that? Allow yourself to be the one that personalizes the content that you're getting out with AI, but make sure it's just kind of giving you the ideas. It's getting you the draft. One of the things I love doing in the mornings on my morning walk is I'll put my AirPods in, I'll drop a little voice memo into ChatGPT or one of my other favorite AI tools, and I'll just do a brain dump. I'll give it a bunch of ideas that I have, and I'll ask it to just consolidate or summarize or give me a plan from that idea that I had. So one of the things I would really like to communicate to you guys is stop treating it like Google, right? It is not a search engine, okay? Even though in some ways it's starting to become a search engine, search engines just feed you links, right? You say, who's the best pool company in Tomball? And it's going to give you a long list of all the pool companies based on a number of different ranking factors, right? And that's just, here's the link, here's all the websites. AI models are actually giving you answers. And you'll notice that even Google at the very top of the search engine is starting to actually put the answer to that question. Hey, based on local awards, based on number of reviews, XYZ pool company is considered the best pool company in Tomball. So you really have to be mindful about the fact that like AI is giving you an answer, not just a served up bunch of links. And GPT-4o is like kind of the standard, right? Now there's obviously a lot of models. If you're watching this and you're like an AI nerd out like me, you're like, hey, there's actually way more models than this. You're right. But this is like the standard, right? It is smart, it's fast, it's multimodal, it's best for reasoning, complex tasks, and creative writing, right? So it can do kind of majority of the things that the average small business owner needs. The other thing that's really cool is like the context that AI has. It remembers the conversations it has with you. So if you start talking to it like a human colleague and not a computer terminal, the kind of responses you're going to get out are even better. Now you might be a little creeped out by that. Like, what do you mean talk to it like a human colleague? I promise you, if you start to say like, hey, earlier in our thread, we discussed this idea I had about launching a new website for this kind of subset industry of our company, right? And you say, I'm wondering, what about this other industry? Like, do you think that would make more sense? Like, start to have those contextual conversations so that you can get the most out of what AI has to offer. So I wanted to talk about some of like the pro features of ChatGPT that a lot of business owners don't know about. And some of these, I'm going to try my best to like pop up my screen and share my screen with you guys, if it'll let me, and show you some of these different things. But one of the biggest tools in ChatGPT that most businesses I don't think are leveraging the way they should is the simple voice mode, right? And that's like being able to brainstorm hands-free while driving, or maybe you're at the gym, or maybe you're on a walk in the mornings like myself. I can't tell you how cool this feature is. Like, one of the things, again, I talked about like when I'm at the, walking in the mornings, but I've also found myself in the car, like having a brainstorming session about like an idea that I have. Like, I'll give you an example of one that I can really think of. I have this idea to start a smart vending machine company, like these really nice futuristic, cool vending machines. It's not your average vending machine. I know I'm just kind of geeking out about something you might not care about, but in the car, I kind of talked about it. I was just like, hey, ChatGPT or whatever you call it. I know some people name their ChatGPT. So if that's you, that's cool. But I just say, hey, I had this idea to create a vending machine company. It's going to be luxury. It's got tap to pay. It's more of like a smart refrigerator, if you will. What industries would this be best served for? Oh, based on what you're saying, I think luxury apartment complexes, high-end businesses, high-end gyms would be a great audience for this. And I'm like, awesome, cool. But I'm going to go a step further. I'm not going to just leave myself with that idea. I'm going to say, hey, Would you mind drafting up 3 different emails to each of those, niches or each of those industries so that I can actually start soliciting in those markets to see if I can go set meetings to actually pitch these vending machines? So by the time I get to the office in the morning, the majority of the work that I would have normally had to sit and waste hours doing on my computer, it's already done. Like now when I get to the office, I'm just sending that email out. Or in the case of if you have an administrator or you have a business partner that can help you with some of these things, by the time I get to the office, my assistant's already helping me execute on it. I'm saying, hey, Laura, I got these emails drafted. Would you just do a final revision of them and get them sent out? Build the list, whatever, right? So it's like there is so much you can do with AI than just type in, hey, I need a social media post written, or I need help responding to this email, which are great ways to use it, but there is so much more. The other thing that I think a lot of people don't really know how to leverage is the file uploads feature. So you can drag in PDFs, you can drag in Excel sheets, you can drag in pictures, and then you can actually ask it to do stuff with those files. So I'll give you a great example. In this very presentation I'm showing you guys this morning, I realized this morning as I was doing a final walkthrough that one of my bullet points was duplicate. And I was like, oh no, this is bad. So I literally took a screenshot of that slide. I uploaded it into ChatGPT and I just simply said, I realized I have a duplicate bullet point here. I need a 4th bullet point that makes sense contextually to everything else that's already on this slide. And in 2 seconds, it had already given me 4 or 5 different ideas of another bullet point that I could include on that slide. So that's one example of how you can upload images. There's other ways you could use it. Maybe you've got I'm going to use another one that you guys can judge me for, okay? I'm getting a little bit older, 36. I feel like my skin is starting to age a bit. And so the other day, it was a couple weeks ago, I noticed that my skin was just starting to look super, like my pores were large. I just wasn't loving the look of my skin. So I took a selfie. I uploaded it into ChatGPT and I said, hey, based on what you see, what kind of skincare routine would you suggest? Now, time out, right? It's not a doctor. Don't, again, we're talking about trust and verify. Like this is not a doctor. It's not a replacement for medical professional or medical advice. But it did. It gave me, hey, you should probably wash your face twice a day. Here's a really popular, reviewed face wash. You should also use this retinol cream. You should also use this moisturizer. And I was like, I'm going to do a fun little challenge and I'm going to buy all of these products and I'm going to do 60 or 90 days of consistently hitting that, kind of daily facial routine and see what kind of, improvements my skin has. And honestly, over the last few weeks, I've noticed that my skin looks a lot clearer. It looks a lot, younger, if you will. You guys can tell me if you're commenting, if you're watching somewhere where you can comment, you can just drop in the comments. Does my skin look glowing? I don't know, but ChatGPT helped me do that. You might also have a spreadsheet full of names of, maybe a list of prospects or a list of companies that you want to send out a gift for. And you're like, I don't want to compile all this information. I don't want to summarize all this information. You can drag it in and you can ask it to give you different things. Like, hey, tell me the 5 companies that made me the most money in 2025. Tell me the companies that have the biggest potential to churn next year based on their buying habits. There's so much you can do. Now, obviously with AI, you have to be careful about what you put in it, especially if it's something that's like a trade secret that you wouldn't want the algorithm to train your information from. But you could do is something even like pulling in your P&L or your monthly balance sheet and saying, hey, where are we spending money, or kind of what leaky buckets do we have? Where are we spending money that we shouldn't be? So file uploads is a very, very underutilized feature. You could even ask it to critique your existing work. Like maybe you have a flyer or maybe you have an existing presentation that you're just not a huge fan of. And you're like, man, I really wish this presentation could be improved. Upload those slides and say, hey, I want you to go slide by slide and tell me what could be changed or improved to have a greater impact on this presentation that I have coming up. And it will do it. It will give you all of the content. So don't be afraid to upload files into ChatGPT because it is really cool. Next up is memory. So you can give it some business details once, and it's going to remember those things forever, right? Now, I want to be mindful and let you guys know that the memory is limited, right? Like there is only so much context that you can give it. So I'd say your memory is best to kind of like put the main core thing that you're using ChatGPT for. So if you've got multiple businesses or multiple ventures, sometimes when we talk about hallucinations in AI, it'll start to like all of a sudden put something related to like one of your companies in a post about another company. You're like, well, that doesn't make sense. So whatever you're mainly using AI for, specifically ChatGPT, I'd say focus your memory on that. So maybe more general information about you, your authority, your personality, your preferences, and then allow the individual projects or the individual conversations to control the specific memory to whatever request you have, right? And then custom instructions. You can also do this. You can set your default tone. So always be professional, be witty. In the case of my social media, if you follow me on social media, you know that I tend to be a little bit more funny. I sometimes am a little bit more blunt. And someone told me recently I'm quite motivational. So those are some of the things that I might put in my custom instructions so that when I ask it to write me an email or write me a blog post or write me a social media caption, that it continues to keep kind of my voice and my humanity in the actual content that it's delivering. Now, before I move on really quick, there are a lot more pro features than this, like a ton. The reality is we've only got an hour together. I can't get into every single one of them. And I invite you guys, I have a community where I train deep on this stuff. So if you want to go further, if you want to go deeper, like we can definitely do that. But this is kind of like some of the foundational pro features that I think that businesses often overlook. All right, how to speak AI fluently. So I want to give you guys a framework, the CRAFT method, okay? And I'm going to look down at my screen because I want to make sure I tell you guys all of these right. But this is essentially what you're going to do to get the best output from whatever AI tool you're specifically using, right? And I know that everyone's got their favorite. You've got Gemini, you've got Perplexity and Manus and ChatGPT. There's so many, and I'm probably skipping your favorite one. But if not, either way, this is the framework you're going to want to follow. So again, it's called the CRAFT model. So letter C for CRAFT is going to be context. Who are you? Who is the audience? So, hey, I'm a pool builder, or I'm targeting med spas, or we work in the machining industry, or we're a real estate developer. Give it the context of either yourself, or who you're writing for, right? Give it the context. Role, who is the AI? So you can actually tell ChatGPT to function as a particular expert, which many people don't know this. So, hey, I'll give you an example, right? So I'm a pool builder focusing on building luxury pools in Tomball, Texas, and I want you to work as an expert sales specialist, right? So there we go. Kind of got my CNR. A, action, what do you want, right? 150-word welcome email. Again, you're a professional sales specialist. I want you to come up with a list of 10 of the most top objections that people buying a luxury pool might experience, and format, which is our F. How should it look? So I might actually say, I want you to write these from their perspective, their point of view. I feel, I heard, I thought, like from their point of view. So like whenever we get the output, we actually see like, okay, what are the objections that they would have in a sales call or a sales meeting in the words of the pool builder or the pool buyer, right? And then lastly, T for tweak, iterate, make it punchier, add stats. So our CRAF is our initial prompt that we're going to post to get the response that we're looking for. And that letter T is going to be the thing that we do to get it to what we want. A lot of times people take that first response and then they're like frustrated that it wasn't exactly what they wanted. And that's where that tweak really comes in. It's like, hey, that was really good, but I was actually looking for something that sounded like this. Fun fact, side note, you can also give it examples of output. So if you say, I want it to be formatted like, and you give it an example of something you've already seen or something you already have in your existing SOPs, for example, then it's going to actually write it and format it in a way that looks like really what you expect and what you want to come out of it. So remember that vague prompts equal vague results. I see it very frequently. People just put in, write me a social media post for my pool company about, summer specials. And it's like, okay, that works and it gets you post. But if you follow this context of who you are, what we do, what we specialize in, the role that we want the AI to take, the action that we want, and the format, then what we're going to get out is going to be so much, so much better. So remember, garbage in, garbage out, just like what we eat, just like what we feed AI. All right, I wanted to give you guys 5 prompt hacks to save some hours, okay? And these are some existing kind of like following that similar craft, format, a little shorter and punchier for the sake of slides, but ones that will help you guys out. Like role playing. This is a really cool one. Act as my grumpy CFO and critique this budget. So we talked about uploading files, right? Like think of this as like a perfect combo for that. Hey, act as my grumpy CFO and critique this budget. Well, think about this. I know we're serving a lot of small businesses in this presentation, but I also know that we have nonprofit organizations in our community. I think that as a nonprofit, this could be so valuable, right? Hey, what would donors want to know, right? Like critique this budget. What is the board of directors going to say about this? Constraints. Write this in exactly 50 words without jargon. And I might even say without fluff, without feel good words, just 50 blunt, direct words. And the cool thing about that is that constraints are going to force creativity. Whenever you allow it to be wide open, it starts to do what everyone kind of knows as like AI. You're like, oh, it says fluff. It says like, they start using a bunch of like words that you're like, oh, that's AI. It starts using the M dashes, things like that. Also, you can use example-based, right? So here are 3 emails I like. Write a new one in this exact style. I actually love doing this with existing onboarding processes that we have documented. I like doing this with our nurture sequences that we use after a lead comes into our pipeline. And I'll take all of those emails and say, hey, here's our current onboarding sequence, or here's our current nurture sequence. I need another nurture sequence for leads that have gone cold, or I need this a nurture sequence for someone who was shopping on my website but never went to the checkout page. It's going to use your voice and tone and examples to write it and keep it on brand for your voice. For many of us, this is the first time we've had access to AI in our entire lives within the last few years, right? Which means that, if you've been in business for more than 5-10 years, you've probably got a huge library of content that's been created in some form or fashion, whether it's blog posts, emails, social media posts, internal communication, internal documentation, internal processes. All of that content can serve as essentially like a knowledge base of sorts to train the AI to craft content in a way that sounds like you, but maybe just got a little sparkle on it, a little something extra, right? Here's another one, cheat code, chain of thought. Think step by step and explain your reasoning first. So you're giving it that like, hey, I want you to do this, but then I also want you to explain your reasoning. Like, why are we doing this? Another one here is, another cheat code for you guys is the refinement loop. Remember, I this is just me kind of building on the last slide. Don't stop at draft 1, right? Allow yourself to like not take that first answer as much as it like sometimes you're just like, well, it was just so fast, I just need to get it done. Take the extra 2 or 3 prompts, because all you have to do is say like in this example here, great. Now make it more conversational, make it more funny, make it more witty, make it a little more silly, make it more serious. Add that extra refinement context, and I promise you that what you're going to get out is going to be like, oh, that is the one I was looking for. And it doesn't take you but a few seconds, right? Like first world problems. Like we're over here, like it used to take us hours to draft emails, and now it takes us 2 seconds, and we're still so impatient. So take that time to refine what you're getting out. All right. Give you guys a couple of workflows. This one right here is what I call the content machine. So from blank page to published in 20 minutes. Okay. So one idea, right? So I'm going to use an idea. And then once I get the idea, I'm going to ask it to create an outline, and then I'm going to ask it to draft the thing, right? So again, most people would think that like, oh, I have to do all of that. No, like use AI for all 3 steps. Like come up with the idea, then outline it, then draft it. And then what that we get from that one idea are all of these assets, blogs, emails, social posts, you name it. So step 1, give me 10 ideas. That's our ideation. Give me 10 ideas for a book that teaches small business owners about AI. Step 2, outline. Create a detailed outline for number 3. So what does it mean by like number 3? So remember, we gave us 10 ideas. Now we're saying, ooh, I like number 3 the most. So give me a detailed outline for that number 3 answer. Perfect. Now, once I get the outline, I'm like, it says just straight up write the post, as I've been talking about, like the reiteration. I'm going to go, this looks really good, except for I also want to talk about this. And I don't love bullet point number 2 in the outline. That doesn't really sound like me. And then once we give it that feedback, we're going to say write the post. And then once we get the post written and we like that, and we've kind of iterated it down to what we want, then we can say, turn this into you name it. Like the world is your oyster, like 3 social media posts, a nurture sequence, landing page copy, website copy, you name it, right? I mean, an SOP that I can give to the people on my team that have to do these things to make this thing happen. Like, I think again, like it's hard to not think about AI in a real creative sense of like, oh, this can only be used to like write blog posts and social media posts. Like, no, like it could also be used to say like, I went from an idea of this really cool event that I wanted to do in my community. So I loved number 5. It drafted it. And then I said, hey, put a plan together for it. Well, what about more of the operation stuff? Hey, create me a budget for this event. Create me a marketing strategy for this event. Give me the SOPs of everybody that's going to be responsible for making this event happen. Give me the tasks that they're going to have to do. Give me a timeline. If we want to have this event happen by October 31st, then I need to know exactly what the agenda is to make sure that we hit those goals in time. So we can think about AI in such a more complete way than just the creative things of like, write me an email, write me a blog post. It can really be a strategic partner. Here's another one. This is really some of the more operational stuff, right? It's the boring stuff that a lot of us don't love doing. Email triage. Paste a rude or complex customer email. So like, hey, this is a really complicated email we got, or this is a rude email we got from somebody. And I say, write a polite professional response, diffusing the situation, offer X as a solution, right? So there we go. Like, and you can actually have these all pre-written so that your support team or your internal ops team will have these saved as templates that they can use over and over and over again. Task breakdown. Paste a goal or vague project idea and say, hey, break this project into clear tasks, prioritize them, and estimate effort for each step. So that kind of goes back into like the event idea I had, right? So it's like, hey, I think this is like an area that every business owner and every entrepreneur struggles with is we either as visionaries have a lot of ideas, or someone from our team wants us to accomplish something or do something. And then it kind of just sits around. Like we're like, well, what next? Like, what do we do? And unless you're like incredibly organized and incredibly structured, it can feel a bit overwhelming. So this is a good example of like, take those ideas and say, hey, like, let's put this into an actual plan and let us know what it's going to actually take to make it happen. Because I would rather know, 10 minutes worth of AI into this idea before I'm, 3 years down the road and going, man, why did we do this again? So really great for task breakdown. Data analysis, we talked about this one, but I'll just kind of jump in again. Upload a sales CSV, so like maybe all of your sales from Q1, and say, what day of the week is my busiest? What are why are my margins slipping? Where are my margins slipping? If you own a boutique or a retail store, same thing. Hey, like based on my my daily sales for the month of January, what days do you think I should be open? What hours make the most sense for my business? Again, I don't think these are ways that people are thinking that they can leverage AI, but you're going to look at that data and just make the best guess you can. AI is going to look at every single detail and give you a really strong analysis of that information, which is great. And then SOP creation. This is probably one of the ways I actually personally use AI the most. I'm 100%, I would even argue 150% visionary. So anything operationally speaking, it's not my strongest skill, right? And so I love to use AI to create SOPs. And one of the ways that I do it is because I enjoy making videos and I enjoy talking. I'll just record my screen and I'll talk and I'll, talk about the process. I'll do a walkthrough. And then at the end, I'm actually leveraging AI to automatically generate an SOP based on what I just taught. So it listens to me ramble, it listens to me doing what I'm doing with you guys, but then in the end, it gives this really well buttoned up, solid SOP that I can give to my employees. And they're like, oh yeah, I can follow that because it doesn't have all of Andrew's like little squirrel moments happening, because AI knows to kind of cut that stuff out. It's cutting out the fluff and it's leaving kind of the meat and potatoes, if you will. Okay, so here's an example. I need to train a new employee on opening the store, create a step-by-step checklist based on these rough notes, right? And again, this is a great opportunity to use the voice mode. Like, hey, I'm in the store, I'm walking around, looking around, thinking, oh God, I really need someone to help me out in this store. I might literally say, okay, when I walk in every morning, the first thing I have to do is unlock the doors, turn on the sign, do a quick cash check, get the point of sale turned on, blah, 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 like whatever those things are. I need you to create me a checklist for my new employee that's going to have to take over this responsibility. I think that as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as individuals in general, one of our biggest challenges, I think, is delegation. And I think it's also one of our biggest opportunities to be more efficient, to be more productive, and to be a better team player is to be better at delegating. So I think that that's one way that AI gives those of us that are not great at delegation a superpower or an advantage to be able to say, okay, I'm not really good at delegation. Here's a list of all the things that I do in a day. Which of these could be delegated? Which of these could be taken off my plate so that I can focus on like my area of genius and the things that I do really well? All right. 80-20 rule. We've all heard about the 80-20-20 rule, but this is the 80-20 rule specifically for collaboration. 80% of this can be AI. Let it do the heavy lifting. Let it do the research. Let it do the structure. Let it do the drafts. Let it summarize, sort. Let it do brainstorming, like all the things. Let it do the heavy lifting. That allows you guys to spend the 20% or even less just doing the strategy, the final polish, like again, the humanity, like the things that make you special. That's where we've got to be careful in the age of AI, is if we all use AI in the exact same way, then none of us start to feel original. I have already seen it. I can get on Facebook and I can pretty much call out someone who's using AI, and it just doesn't feel very genuine. It feels like it's inauthentic. I think that if you spend the time doing the things that I'm sharing with you guys and teaching you guys, and you allow that emotional piece to come through, your AI generated content is going to feel that much more human. You're also in charge of the fact checking, the ethics component. That's another area that you have to be careful with AI. Like the ethical piece, like it's just doing what you tell it to do, right? And sometimes because of those hallucinations, like it's not going to take into consideration, ethical, potentially ethical challenging problems, like the things that like it's not paying attention to. You've got to be checking that stuff. The trap here that I think that a lot of business owners and a lot of people in general are falling for is that they're just copy and pasting blindly. And you have to remember that AI is the sous chef. You're the head chef. Your job is to make sure that everything that comes out of the kitchen like meets your, standard before it hits the plate. Okay. This is where it gets a little bit fun. Before I share my screen, before we spend a little bit more time kind of nerding out together, I want to talk to you guys about a few tools that are ready now solutions. Get your pen and paper out if you're not already, like jotting down notes. Here's some of my favorite AI tools outside of the ChatGPT that most of us have come to kind of know and use regularly in our day. So one of them is called Perplexity. And Perplexity is pretty much just like ChatGPT. If you can use ChatGPT, you can use Perplexity. It's just another large language model. And I like theirs because, in my opinion, it's a lot better than Google for research and frequently asked questions. And one of the things that it does is if you give it permission, it will actually open up a new tab in your browser and it will actually start going and doing research for you. So you can actually say like, hey, I'm looking for the 30 best vacations to take next year with my spouse. And we're really looking for something beach related and we're trying to keep it into this budget and blah, 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 right? Give it all that context. It will say, can I open up a tab? You say yes. And it will start doing all of the research. It'll visit a bunch of sites. It'll visit a bunch of blogs. And then like 8 minutes later, it'll come back and say, hey, I've finished all of my research and here's my findings. So it's really kind of acting as like this like AI assistant, which is really, really cool. Yeah, it's not like immediately fast, which Perplexity can do that, mind you, like for the regular things we've been discussing today. But if you want some more of that advanced stuff, it'll actually go do deep research. Is really cool. Another one that I actually did a video about, you can look me up on YouTube, Andrew Brockenbush. I actually created a whole video about like all the new features that Canva released. And one of them is the Canva Magic Studio. So if you need to create flyers and graphics and things like that for your organization, whether it's a pitch deck, a one sheet, a sales sheet, you name it, Canva Magic Studio really, really makes it easy. Not only do they have like a bajillion templates that you can, leverage and use, but also they've got things like text to image generation. Like I need an icon that's specifically money on a pig. Okay, cool. There it is. It created it out of thin air, right? So like the creative image generation from text is very cool. One of the tools that I probably use, I don't know, at least once a day is called Notebook LM. This is a Google product. So if you're already a Google customer, specifically on the workspace side, like the business version, you actually have access to Google's whole AI suite, including Gemini and Notebook LM. Now, what's really fun about Notebook LM, and I'll kind of give you guys a little teaser here in a second and show my screen on this, but Notebook LM is only trained and only answers questions based on the content you feed it. So I'll just give you guys an example. Let's say that I want to start creating YouTube videos all about camping. I'm going to use camping as an example. Okay. I could actually take 30 of the best YouTube videos that I find that are like channels that I think are really good, and I can plug those into Notebook LM. Notebook LM trains itself. It trains that notebook on all of that content. And mind you, each notebook can be like thematic based on the content you put in. And so, for example, it says upload 50 PDFs, SOPs, and chat with your own proprietary data. In this case, I'm actually even using website links, but you can also use documents. So I put in, again, 50 of these best YouTube videos all about camping. And then now, just like ChatGPT, I have this little chat box. I can ask it questions, but I can say, hey, help me come up with one YouTube video to record every single week for the next, 6 months. I want the videos to be inspired by the top YouTube creators that are in the camping space. And what it's going to do is it's going to create titles based on all of the data that I just fed it, which are 50 of the top YouTube videos in the camping space. So not only does it have title ideas, but it also has the patterns of like, okay, did the title start with a hook? Did the title start with a number? Like it has all of that information that I wouldn't be able to do on my own. And so what's cool about Notebook LM is it won't hallucinate nearly as much because it's only answering questions and letting you chat about the data that you fed into it, which I find to be really valuable. Another thing that's really special about Notebook LM is that they do not use the information in their chats or in the notebook to train the large language model, to train the overall AI agent. Meaning that if you did need to upload, I would say semi-proprietary data, like maybe your P&Ls or maybe, customer information, that would be a safer place to put it because they're not training their agents on what you put into it. So like one of the ways that I'm hearing companies use that feature is they're actually creating notebooks for every single one of their clients with all kinds of facts. Like here's every invoice we sent to this client. Here's what we should, like, these are some favorite things that these clients love. Like this is their favorite sports teams. Like they have 3 kids, like just all these facts. And then that way, whenever they're like, what can we do to surprise and delight, Tomball Economic Development Corporation, I can literally just go ask in that notebook. And because it sees the history of everything we've ever done together, it goes, oh, based on everything you said, I think that they would really love tickets to a sports game. I'm making up an example here, right? But it is actually going to be able to leverage that data in that way. The other thing that's fun about Notebook LM is it creates really cool assets from the content that you train it from. So one of the things you can do is create slides. One of the things you can do is create podcast episodes. So let's just say that you were thinking about buying a new, or you're thinking about adopting a pet. Maybe it was going to be a golden retriever and you're like, man, I just don't know a lot about the breed. I want to make sure before we adopt a golden retriever, I know everything about it. So you feed it as much golden retriever content as you can, blog posts, videos, articles, whatever you want, you fed it. And then you press the little generate a podcast button and it will literally male and female host co-host a whole podcast episode, basically giving you a breakdown of what was included in that content, which is really, really cool because I just like that you've got like a nice podcast format. If you aren't a person that likes to read or spend all that time, 7 minutes later, you know all you need to know about adopting a golden retriever, which is fun. All right. Emerging tools to watch. These are some other really fun tools that I think that if you've not kind of ventured out of ChatGPT and you're looking for some other tools to look at, these are some of my favorite. Some of these are just fun, silly ones, and some of them are actually really valuable. So one of them is called Opus Clip. This one's really good for video. And I've got a lot for video, actually. Like I'll just drop a few really quick for you. Luckily, this is recorded, so you can rewind it if you need to later. We've got Veed.io, which is a great video editing tool. Again, we've got Opus Clip. Captions is a great one. CapCut is a great one. All of those tools will help you make it easier to edit videos leveraging AI. Opus Clip is really cool because it takes long format videos and turns it into like viral short clips for social media like Instagram and TikTok. It can also do text to video, so it can add text over your video like caption style, which is really cool. One that a lot of you guys might have been hearing about in the news right now is this tool called OpenClaw. And I would say that for most of the business owners listening to this, it's probably too technical or too advanced of a app to be looking at. But it is something that if you want to just go poke around and do some Google research or even create yourself a notebook LM all about OpenClaw and listen to a podcast episode about it, it is a really cool emerging technology, but it is essentially an autonomous AI agent, meaning it can actually truly work for you in the background, meaning it's got access to your computer. It can check your emails. It can respond to your emails. It can create social media captions. You can even text it as if it were an assistant. And it is pretty impressive. But again, very, very new, right? This is one of those ones I would say like proceed with caution, do your research. If that sounds like something that like is up your alley, like, yeah, go do the work of learning it before you just plug it into your computer and install it. There's also Lindy, Lindy.ai. This one is a tool very similar, but a lot more security around it, right? There's HIPAA compliance and there's a lot more protection. So if you're in an industry that's more regulated, I would say start by looking at a tool like Lindy, which is not open source. It's private. You have to pay for the subscription and all that fun stuff, but you're probably going to have some better safety protocols because of that. This one is 100% silly and fun. This one I personally love because I'm a creative. It's called Suno, and Suno will actually generate royalty-free music, jingles, As a musician myself, one of the things that I did when I first found out about Suno is I actually uploaded songs that I had written that I had never actually fully recorded or fully produced. Like they never had like a full band behind them. They were just my acoustic guitar and me. And I gave it a prompt of essentially like what style of music I wanted. Like, hey, I want this to be like I'm just going to use country, a Texas country style song inspired by artists like Cody Johnson and, Parker McCollum. And it automatically, like within a couple minutes, generated me 3 different options of tracks that kept my melody, kept my lyrics, but had a different voice that sounded like somebody who could actually sing, and full music. And it was pretty freaking cool. There's again that like great question of like, well, AI music, like where's the soul in that? And I think what's, in my opinion, right, like this is coming from somebody who is a musician and who has randomly a degree in music production. I think where AI music generation tools are cool from a business use case is your jingles and some of that silly stuff that you can use to create your own original trending audio for your own social platforms. I think that's really cool. I think more on the personal side, the fun part here is things like, oh, well, my grandparent wrote this song, 100 years ago, right? A great grandparent. We have it in a notebook and we never got the opportunity to hear the song be a song. Like we only have the lyrics. Well, that's a great use case, right? Take those lyrics and put them into the app and let it turn it into a full song. I think that is really, really special, actually. So check that one out. That one's fun. You'll waste a whole weekend just being silly, but it's cool. One of the ones that are probably my all-time favorite right now is a software called Lovable. And I'm going to give you a couple other tools in this category as well. You've got Lovable, you've got Replit, you've got, I think it's called Base 44. And all of these tools are AI apps that help you build your own apps, build your own software. So somebody asked me recently, they're like, what do you think the future of software is? And I'm like, I think it's a little uncertain because there was a time not very long ago, I'm talking about a few years ago, where if you wanted to build an app for your company, specifically like a web app or an app that you would use on your computer, you would have to go pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to a software developer to build that app out. And now all you have to do is simply say what you want the app to do, what the functionality is, what the goal of it is, and you put that in just like you would in ChatGPT. I want a tool that does XYZ thing, and it will literally build it. Not only does it build it, you don't have to be overly technical to see that process through. From everything from it'll give you the concept and it'll be a working prototype and you'll say, oh, it looks great, but, so there's that iteration, right? It looks great, but I noticed that when I click this button, it doesn't do anything. Oh, okay, cool. Let me see what's going on. I'm going to fix it. It is just like using ChatGPT, but it's building something. It's literally building an application or software. So, if I were to make my projection or prediction of what is going to happen with software, I think that there's going to be the world where small businesses are able to get quick, what we call MVPs or minimal viable products up on our own and get them 80-90% of the way there to what we need and want. And then we bring in software engineers and software developers at the end to help us make sure that they're secure, make sure that they're built with the right code, make sure that they're kind of past the finish line, right? But I do think that there's going to be a time when most businesses will just think about the problem that they have in their business, and instead of paying $50 a month for a tool that does it, they'll just build their own tool. That's crazy. So these are some of my favorite tools I wanted to talk to you guys about. And again, I've got like thousands more in my head because I'm just an AI junkie, but I want to talk to you guys about that. Next up is risk and ethics. This is like one of the biggest conversations that people have around AI. It's just like, well, what about, my security and safety and Skynet and all those things? So number one privacy rule is never put sensitive client data, passwords, or trade secrets into public AI models. And so when I say public AI models, I'm particularly talking about tools like ChatGPT, Manus, Perplexity, because many of those will actually train their agents based on what you feed it, right? Even if it's not trying to give your trade secrets away, it's just training its models, right? So you got to be really careful about that. You can also look in the terms and conditions of your favorite AI tool. Some of them have plans, right? Like enterprise level plans where you do get all of that security, where they don't train the models. It's locked down to basically be your organization only. So if that's important to you and you want to use it in that way, then you need to look into the terms and conditions and look at your tools and see which one has the best privacy options available. Again, there's some that have full HIPAA compliance, for example. And then the other thing, right, is the hallucination problem. We've talked about this a lot, but just remember that AI can lie, and it does it really confidently. Like it'll be very definitive about a lie, and you're like, oh, perfect. If AI says it, it's got to be real. Like no different than if you got on Google and Googled something, you take Google as the truth. Well, that's exactly what's happening with AI is people are taking AI as the truth and they're not verifying. So remember, like verify dates, prices, laws, citations. Like I've asked it questions about laws before and it said one thing. Perfect example. I sold a truck to my nephew. I asked it some questions about the gift law tax and if I could get away with giving him the truck with using the gift law. And it said absolutely. And I'd given it all the context. You're in Texas, Said absolutely you could do it. Well, then I went to the Texas DMV's website to actually grab the paperwork, and it says very clearly that this only applies to grandparents, siblings, and I think parents, right? So clearly it didn't qualify, but AI was very definitive in the fact that it was legal and it was allowed. So I had to like start my whole contracts over again. I had to do everything different to make sure I was following the law and doing it the right way. So keep that in mind. And then copyright and ownership, right? Use AI for ideas and drafts, but add enough human touch to own the output. You know, one of the things that I think we all felt like when AI first came out was like, oh my gosh, this is where's it pulling this stuff from? It has to be pulling it from some like repository of content and just like using it and regurgitating it. And then the more we used it, we were like, no, this is original content. This is like my stuff. I think that is why this presentation is so important. If you're prompting it the way I'm talking about prompting and you're using the craft method and you're iterating, then you're right. The things that you're going to get out of there will probably be pretty unique to you. I think that when you just do more of the generic, that's the word, generic. If you use like more generic prompts and you don't do a lot of iteration, then the stuff you get out is probably going to be a lot like somebody else's stuff. Like bottom line, it's just going to be that way because it's still just a large language model that's learning from everything else. So keep that in mind. I'll give you an example of this. If you want to write a blog for your website or you want to start writing a book maybe this year, that was something I wanted to do. I wanted to write a book, and it's actually something I'm in the process of, and fingers crossed it'll be done by the end of March or April. And when I first started, I was like, oh, I'll just use AI to help me write the book. And so I would just put a couple of bullet points of like chapter 1 should be about this, 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 and this. Here's the main stories I want to cover, and it would give me the draft. And the draft was good, but I noticed that there was still just like a lot of like what I would consider fluff, right? Just like filler content that did not feel uniquely me. So I took it a step further, and it's what I'm doing now. And what I actually ask it to do is I say, interview me about chapter 1, which is all about these things. Then it gives me like a really deep interview. I take that interview, I record my answers. I don't just type in my answers, I actually record my answers, and I like tell the stories and I share the insights. And I'm really just like find myself it easier for me, easier to just like record it than to like type it all in. Once I have those recordings, I then feed the audio transcription of those recordings back into AI and then have it write the drafted content for the chapter. And I promise you that sounds so much more like me because it has transcriptions of how I spoke, how I talked, what stories I shared, the way I talk. Really, really cool what you can do when you just take that one step further. All right. So you might be asking me, now what? What is my action plan? Like, what do I do to actually start using AI better starting today? So I think week 1, like today, you've still got plenty of weeks. So today, right? Start by just doing some experimenting. If you don't have a ChatGPT account, create one. Okay. I know that there are business owners here that do not have them. It's interesting. I was at a conference a few months ago, and one of the ladies that was speaking was giving some examples about ChatGPT, and someone else was like, ChatGPT, like what? She's like way behind. And then the lady that was speaking kind of said, hey, put your hands in the air if you're using ChatGPT. And it was only about half the room. So I would argue that even though most of us are using ChatGPT, there's probably a big group of people that have still yet to download it because maybe they're just a little bit nervous or unsure of how to use it. And I know people even my age that are not doing it yet because they're freaked out. They don't know how it works. So create your ChatGPT account. If you already have ChatGPT account, all right, skip ahead. All right, download the app. But I want you guys to use the voice mode for one brainstorm. So if you have already got ChatGPT and you've never used the voice mode, I want you to start with that because that's a great way to really just get a little bit more out of AI. All right, the next week, you're going to focus on one repetitive task, okay? And I want you guys to use the craft model to automate it. And I want to give you guys another little pro feature of ChatGPT that you might not know about, which is tasks. In ChatGPT, you can actually ask ChatGPT to do something for you every single XYZ week, day, month. and you can actually tell it what needs to be done, and it will actually save it as a task, and it will automatically do that thing on the schedule that you've set. So in this case, you might say, hey, every single week, I want you to act as a market researcher, and I want you to give me 3 things that people in my industry are doing to stand out. And I want you to deliver that to me every single Monday morning, right? And guess what? Every Monday morning, you're going to have a new chat in your ChatGPT conversation side, and you're going to see that you can go into it and you'll have the answers because those tasks are actually automated tasks. There's a lot of ways you all can use that: social media, blogs, emails, ideas, you name it. Those tasks inside of ChatGPT are awesome. And then in week 3 is all about customization, all right? I want you to set up those custom instructions. I want you to make sure your memory is dialed in. All of that's available in your ChatGPT settings so it knows your brand voice automatically. One of the things I see a lot of people do is because they've not done this, when they get their first, kind of output back from AI, they're like, oh, that doesn't sound like me. And then you end up spending, an hour going back and forth until you're like, oh, that finally sounds like me. If you take the time to take the tone and all of that stuff and set up in your custom instructions, then hopefully the first thing you get out will sound closer to you. One of the other pro tips I'd give you here is you can actually ask AI in that customization, kind of once you get your voice dialed in, say, hey, can you give me custom instructions to use so that my voice always sounds just like this? It'll give it to you, right? Use AI to your advantage. Week 4, expansion. Try one visual tool. So Canva, or one research tool like Perplexity, and just go a little bit further with AI. Like, dip your toes in the water. Try out what other tools are out there because there's some really, really cool ones. So I've got 2 gifts for you guys. I don't think I have time to share my screen, which is okay. I want to open it up for questions in case anybody is in the room for questions. And if not, I think we'll wrap up in a really perfect way. But first up, this right here is a prompt library that my team created, and we are constantly adding to it. A lot of people don't even know how to get better prompts, so I've created a library of over 50 copy and paste prompts for marketing, sales, operations, and support. And this is one of the best ways to just have not a blank page to start from. You can literally filter by the type of prompt you're looking for: sales, operations, support, whatever. And there's prompts that you can copy, paste into ChatGPT, customize to your use case, okay? One of the best ways to learn AI is to use it. Be curious, break things, have fun, right? That's what's really, really cool about this. And then I'm going to end, before opening up for questions, a little, self-promo. I am soft launching a community that I call Small Business Nation, and I wanted you guys to be the first ones to know about it. It is a private community built for business owners who want clarity, they want systems, they want to build momentum. Maybe they're not ready for a marketing agency, or maybe they already have a marketing agency that they love, and they just want the stuff that's going to help them stay on the top of their game, or maybe give them the tools that they need to market their business when they're not ready for a marketing budget yet. And so what we're going to do in this community, we're going to have weekly advantage calls where I'm going to hop on 1 hour every single week, share with you what's working inside of marketing and sales and leadership, give you tips, tricks, all that fun stuff. I've got 60, it's actually way more than 60, but the last number that I have was 60, but my team told me this morning, I think it's over 100 ready to use GPT specialists. And we didn't get in a lot of that today, but one of my favorite things in ChatGPT are these, they're called GPTs. They are specialized, purpose-driven AI employees that do one thing. Right? And when you start your conversation with them, they're trained to do that one thing, and they're trained to do that one thing really well. So we've built 60, 100, whatever the number is now, of these employees that you can literally just start having a conversation with, and they've been trained to do the thing. For example, social media managers, grant writers, blog writers, market researchers, you name it, we built them. I've also got a full course deep diving into ChatGPT. Obviously, today's been about frameworks, foundation, giving you kind of a big scope overview. But in my ChatGPT course, I'm actually breaking down every single feature, custom GPTs, tasks, the memory, all of the things, so that if you want to go further and be a little bit more technical, you can really deep dive into that. And then I've also recorded a whole course and training all about how you can make social media a little bit easier. I know a lot of people I talk to want to be more active on social media, but it sounds like a chore and a headache. So I teach that in there. And then we've also got a lot of other playbooks and protocols. Basically, anything that we do as an agency, we're giving all the secrets away. How to run your own ads, how to rank higher on Google doing SEO. And it's not just it's not a sales pitch. It's truly like, here are the tools we use. Here's the step-by-step process. Here's our SOPs. Now go do it on your own. Because we see the value in kind of leading with value. So if I'm going to go back one more time, if you want to scan this QR code, that you can access all of our free prompts that you can have right away. You can just copy and paste them. And if you're interested in joining Small Business Nation and getting access to some of this stuff, you can scan that QR code and learn more. And with with further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, pop back up on the camera, and I'll let Kelly ask any questions she might have for us.
Would you say are some of the biggest mistakes that some of the businesses make when they're first using ChatGPT?
I think it really is that, like, using it like Google, or asking it only to do like one thing, like really vaguely, specifically, like, or only using it for the creative things. Because I think for a lot of the people I talk to, they're only using it to write emails. They're only using it to create like a social media post. And it's like, I think a lot of business owners just don't know that there's so much more that they can do with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your insight into how small businesses can begin leveraging AI. I hope that everybody leaves today feeling inspired and equipped with new tools and strategies that they can start using right away. I want to thank you, Andrew, again for your time and participation, and thank all of you. We look forward to seeing you at our next Tomball Economic Development Corporation webinar.
All right. Thank you.
Bye bye.